Okay, so the big question on everybody's mind, does PPC actually affect SEO? I've heard this question probably 100 times in the last 6 or 7 years running our PPC agency, Guaranteed PPC. And so I'm going to tell you the exact answer to that question as per my experience, also having been a director at an SEO firm before I started Guaranteed PPC for several years before that, and then before that, running e-commerce sites that I ran previous to that. And so over 15 years seeing this from both sides of this perspective, agency, not agency. And to figure out, should you basically be doing PPC first or SEO first, of course. And, basically, how much should you be spending on PPC in order to get your SEO up, or if it even matters? The first thing I could tell you just to get into this is, yes, of course, PPC does affect SEO, and I'm going to explain why. There's actually several reasons why, and these reasons I promise you aren't going to hear anybody else telling you, because this comes from personal experience and also deep thought about the issue as I've seen and witnessed things over the years on people's campaign when I manage PPC campaigns for clients as they go from nothing to $100,000 a month in ad spend, building it up from start to finish, how their SEO gets affected, and for the people that are big are just big and stay big when they come in, and they're little and they stay little, how their SEO is affected. And then so with that, you'll be able to walk away with the knowledge you need to know the answer to this question, and then potentially doing PPC and to what degree so you get the full benefit out of it. Because trust me, if you did not know already, about half the benefit of running PPC is the SEO that you're going to get along with it, or what I call subsidized. So in other words, you're an e-commerce business, you sell rollerblades. I can guarantee you for that business to be successful, between 25 and 50% of the sales that you're getting is coming from the free organic. But you're not going to get that unless you have a good PPC campaign going to build up your store. It's just people don't think about this. They say, Corey, my campaign's only delivering $4 of revenue for every $1 of ad spend I'm spending on these campaigns. I say, yes, but you have an $8 of revenue for every dollar you're spending on your ads, and about half of that you're getting on your SEO wouldn't be there unless you advertise using PPC, doing PPC ads with Google as well. And they just can't sometimes get it through their head that that's kind of where the return comes from. And frankly, if you do not understand that, your competition or somebody in your space will, and they're going to be the ones buying the ads, and they're the ones that are going to be making $5 million a year, whereas you are going to be at $300,000 a year, because they understand you have to spend to get, and SEO and PPC are kind of one and the same. So anyway, I'm going to explain why, and so you can set up the proper PPC/SEO strategy together that it's going to be able to put you in that kind of position where you are the one that makes the millions of dollars a year in sales, and how you're going to afford to get there, running those PPC ads, and so on. So anyway, starting out, most people overcomplicate their thoughts about SEO and why they actually need to outrank their established competitors. So everybody, when they're starting out, once they see the top competition, how they're ranking well, and then they come up with all these theories about how and why that person's there and how they get there themselves. The first thing you have to know right off the bat is SEO for a lot of people out there, and if you're just talking about promoting a product page where people can buy, or a service page where people can buy right away, not sending people to a blog post or something like that, Google sends the traffic, unfortunately, to the ones who need it the least. If it was so easy as to set up a website and then SEO it quickly with no money and build a business, there'd be a heck of a lot more people doing it. That ended in 2011. So you're 10 years too late on that. However, you can do PPC ads, which will bring in the SEO. You're just not generally going to get SEO on in itself. And the whole kind of thing where you're trying to just SEO your site and have that be your whole revenue generation scheme, first of all, it's very shaky, but we're past the point where that's going to work in any competitive market, and most of the time you have to spend on PPC to make it work. Fortunately, there's ways to start small with PPC, get that to work, scale it up, and then you get your SEO anyway. But just relying on SEO only being your only revenue, where you're getting your revenue, even if you do scale it up, all Google has to do is shift the algorithm a little bit, and you don't have any sales coming in. You have to start firing people. But Google, you got to think about in terms of the SEO what Google wants. It's not about what you want. It's what Google wants. Google wants, more. Yes, they want money, but they want to protect their investment as much as possible. They want to promote whatever is going to make their users the happiest, because that's what's going to make Google, their product, be the number one product forever. And that's why they're the number one company, because they've continued to do that. And they do everything they can do to make people get a better and better experience from Google, generally speaking. We won't get into some other smaller aspects of what's going on there. So, but what does Google truly want here, okay? Well, there's 4 main things that Google wants that a lot of people don't think of. Google has switched from mainly backlinks, which is still a good ranking factor. It used to be you could send backlinks to a site and it would rank right away. That's not the case anymore. If you have a bad site that people don't like, and the average person has a bad experience on, it won't matter how many backlinks you get. You'll get ranked at the top of Google. They'll start to recognize people go to your site, bounce back a lot, and you've wasted all your time. But more so than that, just you have a good website with good metrics on it. Okay, you've done that. That's not going to get you to rank all by itself. Google has to know that site's doing better. And without any information, it doesn't matter. It'll just sit there. It'll do nothing. So anyway, as far as how Google's going to make sure that they're going to be able to serve their customers so their customers serve them, there's several things that they go through to kind of figure out in terms of other than just looking at the site and making sure it has good metrics and people getting to the site and they getting what they want. They want to reward their advertisers that they have. Now, put yourself again in Google's shoes here. And Google, please don't attack me here for what I'm saying. I'm a man of truth here, trying to give you guys truth. Google wants to reward their advertisers. When somebody, I hear this all the time, when somebody calls in and they say you sell the rollerblades again, some people are going to call in and ask questions. What about this model? Is it going to do this and this? What about this other one? Get buying advice on the phone call that's why they deal with the smaller store, by the way. And so they buy, but they always have the age-old question, hey, how did you hear about us? People aren't going to tell you that they clicked on an SEO or PPC ad. People think they do, you're deluded. People are going to say, just Google, okay? So respectively, if you have some ads running, Google ads running, and you're asking every person that comes in, because most people don't have tracking set up that are smaller businesses, they're going to say Google, Google, Google over and over again. And people, because they're advertising, are going to think it's from their Google ads because they want to think that Google ads work, even though they might not work because most people don't know how to set them up the right way because they don't study it. And they don't watch channels like my channel. But they start hearing Google and they're like, ooh, okay, great, Google ads work. When really it's a lot of their SEO that they have or referrals SEO, I just meant to say SEO. So then what? Then the person stays buying the Google ads. On the flip side, if they give the SEO traffic to the free person, what do they get out of it? So on one side, they could lose a customer because the PPC ads aren't set up right and they don't think it's working now, versus on the other side, there's no benefit, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, this is conspiracy theory a little bit, they punish the non-advertisers. So again, Google, don't take this out on me for saying it, but this has been kind of what things that have been said many, many years ago, 10 years ago when Penguin came out. Google, and this is what my clients say, okay, this is not my advice, but they constantly shift the search algorithm around to make it hard to get free traffic from Google, because before 2012, it used to be easy to make SEO, to rank your site and make that your business, where your customers were coming from, or clients. And since then, they've shaken it up a lot, and people think that's to keep people on their toes. I'm not going to completely agree with that one way or another. It is what it is. So, but it makes sense from Google's perspective if they're doing that, because they don't want to make it easy not to have to not buy their buy their product, or not buy their product, I should say. If you could, so before, whereas they relied on SEO, now they can't, because it's not stable enough and it's not as easy. So now it doesn't matter if you like it or not, you have to buy the ads. And since 2012, when they did that, their stock's taken off like a rocket, and it hasn't stopped. So they don't want to give the SEO traffic to somebody and not put them in a position to run a business strictly off SEO, okay? That's number 2. Number 3, they don't want to make the mistake and send people to who they think are a fly-by-night operation. So going back to what I said before about their number 1 goal is making money, but to make money, they have to first think about how to serve their customers, so their customers always come back to Google, i.e. to use their search engine. This is also why they rank, a ranking factor is your reviews. They don't want to send the traffic to somebody who needs the traffic, that doesn't have any PPC ads going to them, and just surviving off a trickle of SEO traffic. They want to send the person to the 500-pound gorilla in your space. Why? Because they know that 500-pound gorilla is probably not a ripoff, not a fly-by-night company. Therefore, it makes it more likely that they're not going to be a ripoff or a scam, because if they were big and they were scamming people, they would have been taken down. But they're just less likely to be a scam, less statistically likely to be a scam. Eric Schmidt said, how do we separate out the good from the bad? The brands. Why? Because the brands, again, are people that by default they can trust more. So they don't want to send it to the little guy, because the little guy, and it is accurate, there's people that can set up do an exit scam, get 100 customers, stop shipping, and keep all the money, and then set up another one. So they don't want to enable that behavior by default. So there again, they want to send it to the person who doesn't need it, which really they do need it, because part of their ads are so expensive that you have to get the benefit of the free traffic, or it almost doesn't make sense anyway. So therefore, I always have to tell people, you have to look at your overall revenue as per a percentage of ad spend. Don't just look at what people do when they click on the ad only, because that's going to affect your SEO, which is what this whole video is about. 4, they want to send people to places they know what they already want. So in other words, at the same time, going back to what I said before, Google, they want to make sure to send the person to at the bottom line that is going to serve their users the best. And so when you're going to do that, your site has to be better than the competition that's already ranking to survive there at the top of Google when you get there. Okay, so if they have no data on the site, how do they know that your site's the best? If you run ads already, what happens? You're going to run it for best rollerblades, and you advertise on that keyword using Google Ads. You make it work enough where you can keep recycling the money back into it because it's profitable. When you do that, what happens? So you've already set something up that can make the traffic work for that keyword. Now they have data on that, and therefore now they know if they rank you for that same keyword to the same page you took them to from the ad. They know more about sending, now they have some insight as to whether that page is better. You aren't going to rank, it's not like a turnkey thing per se, but at least then, if your page is indexed and they have all this data coming in through Google Analytics, and you have the Google Analytics tracking set up, now their algorithm can rely on this data somewhat. Okay, so it's all about risk. Their machine learning algorithm that determines who ranks where and for what is trying to always use past search behavior data to see where people in the rankings they should be for certain profiles of people and for different searches. And so when they have past data, they better now know who they should rank. When you start out, and same thing when you run ads for the first time through Google, you have 2 strikes against you before you start. The cost per lead or cost per sale is way, 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 way higher, 3 times, 5 times higher than what it will be after a year, because they already assume 90% of the people who do it are going to do a crap job, and they're going to have to kick them out. They're going to price it. They're going to make it so expensive that you just leave. And from the SEO side, you're just not going to be there. So, and it is the reality. 90% of people don't do a very good job with their sites. They don't hire an expensive firm and know what they're doing, or they do it themselves and they don't know about conversion rate optimization, so that people, when they get to the site, they will stay on the site longer than their competitions will that have millions of dollars already in revenue coming in to be able to do that and set that up. So then, and if they tried every person who was coming into the market with a crappy website, overall, all the users would have a worse experience than if they just sent it to the known place. So you got to give them a strong reason why you should even be considered. Okay? Again, because the average person's not doing a good job. So there's also that to consider. Now this is, okay, it makes sense, or it should make sense by now, why things are the way that they are. That all said, I've found, now to answer the question specifically, how does PPC affect SEO? For all the reasons and more, these being the main reasons, if you spend $10K a month in advertising through Google Ads, that seems to be the trigger in most markets to see a huge increase in the SEO traffic. So, and I know what you're saying right now, right off the bat. Corey, I cannot afford, what are you, crazy? I cannot afford $10,000 a month in PPC ads. How do you think the people who spend 10 grand a month in PPC ads do it? They pay for themselves. But I tried PPC and it didn't work, and it didn't pay for itself. Well, you didn't set it up right. Because I can guarantee you there's a few people in your market at least who are making it work, and they figured out how to do it. So maybe you look at what they're doing, or maybe you study, whatever. But the most profitable thing, the biggest thing that will get you the SEO is doing the PPC right. You start out with $1,000 a month budget, or $500 or whatever. $100 a month, it doesn't matter. You study your butt off, you figure out how to set it up the right way for long tail keywords to start with, because you're starting out with little money. You make one keyword, make a perfect landing page for one single keyword or one specific type of customer. You nail it, you go on to the next thing. You spend more time and effort to put in on it for that one keyword that you're initially optimizing for than anybody else, so therefore you'll win. And then you'll do the next thing and the next thing, and then that's how big PPC fortunes are built. You start small. You see people when they're big. You didn't see when they started small and what they had to do. So you've got to go through and pay your dues. Then once you've built it up to 10 grand a month, that's when if you were making 50 grand a month on 10K a month and spend, now you're going to go to 100 because the SEO is going to really kick in. Okay? It's not hard, every single time 10K. I'm just telling you, I've seen hundreds of accounts now go through a different progression of low spend to high spend after the ads start work. We start scaling it. That's about the general threshold that gets you to where it starts to really go crazy or bunkers for you, okay? So does PPC affect your SEO? Yes. Not on a real small scale. Google obviously just doesn't think you're a big enough brand then. But if you can spend 10K a month or more, they think you're the big brand. Okay, obviously they know it because they see all your traffic coming in. Now you have a lot of customers, therefore that you have to be a big brand. So therefore now you get all the SEO benefits. You're forced to send people to a page that would outrank people for the same term already. I said that before. Your campaigns are set up to turn somebody searching for specific things into a customer at an efficient rate that beats your competition already through the paid channel. Therefore, those same terms should be able to beat your market competition for the same keywords in the organic free listings as well once you've done that. So by making the PPC ads your first priority, you're forced to set up a landing page / site that's efficient enough to rank well organically. So it just really puts you into a position where you're forced to do the things you need to rank well anyway, right away. Otherwise, people think, well, I'll do the SEO. If I get their site might be profitable if they get the free traffic. Well, the paid traffic won't be profitable to them. Well, if you see, you got to do both. You have to have a site that will be profitable with PPC just to be able to rank organically, because it needs to be efficient enough, and what PPC would actually take to make it profitable, to make the SEO competitive in that organic free space. Again, like I said, because of the Google Rank Brain algorithm, you rank on the first page. Even if you rank number 10, if people are clicking on your thing at a higher rate and they're getting to your site and they're staying on there at a higher rate than number 9, you're now number 9. Same thing, then they'll go through and they'll split test 9 and 8. You can go from 10 to 1 based upon the merits of the landing page. But you obviously got to get, assuming that you have a landing page set up that pays for itself with the paid ads, now, as long as you get it on the first page on Google, you can get to 1 automatically. So you can kind of see, yes, it's not fun to have to do all the work to make sure a campaign will work before you can get SEO, but you had to do all that work anyway, is pretty much my point. And of course, you do a landing page that works well, there's no traffic to it, you don't get it on the first page, you start to PPC it. Now it can get on the first page because now Google sees it, and now you see you'll get the SEO because you've done the PPC, but you won't get it if you don't do the PPC or some other paid traffic source. There's other ways you can get traffic to a site, so technically it could be a good site. You wouldn't do PPC and you can still rank well. But the easiest thing for most people to do is just right away make a PPC campaign work and you'll get the SEO. If you're in a market where content itself will bring in a good customer for you or a client, and you're starting out with no money, then that's a situation where I would work on the SEO first instead of doing the PPC ads. Most of the other times where people don't give a crap about content, like if you're a plumber, nobody cares about how to fix a toilet on a blog post. You just have to get the service page that offers the service working. And in that case, you sit down, you get a page together that's going to convert at a high enough rate that the paid traffic will work, then you'll run the PPC and then the SEO will come along. If you're in a B2B market where people don't really trust you too much, the best clients are coming in from content marketing that you can then technically promote with ads or whatever. What I would say in those other instances where it's mostly just B2B, if you're doing that and you're starting out with no money, then just as a little side trick or a secret businesses like that, if articles will work, then guest posting is where you should start first. So in other words, if they want content and they don't want to customers come from content versus just finding a product or service page where you can buy it right away. You go to a site with traffic already, offer to write for free. You get that person to come to your site. They come to your site, they could subscribe to your blog and newsletter by putting in their email. And then basically you send them an email every week with your new blog post that goes there. And then eventually they come back to the site, it has traffic, then you can get all the articles that are there will start to rank. But that's the kind of the order of way you do things. And eventually once it's going good enough, of course you can try to run some PPC ads for people that are looking for the service and then typing in services or whatever it is, firms, whatever it is, agencies, that kind of thing, buying keywords. But, that just as a whole side thing. But for most people, I'm just mainly saying this because when most people say, I'm going to SEO my site, what are they doing? They're promoting it with, content marketing, which nobody generally gives a crap about your content in a lot of spaces. If they're going to buy red shoes, they don't give a crap about your blog. You either have to have that product page rank or you're wasting your time. Okay? So which in that case, like I said, if you're going to do that, then your best bet is just to go write some guest articles and push people back to your blog. So you're going to have to write a blog post and a guest article each week or each month. And you have to do them in succession until you have enough people going straight to your blog where you can just do straight blog. That's the most efficient way to do things. Otherwise, if the other thing that they're going to do for SEO is to make the product page or the page where you can buy the service directly right now, in other words, and try to rank that, they will try to do like hacky things. Let's go put a bunch of cheap backlinks and point to this page. For the most part, that doesn't work anymore like it used to. I can tell you it's literally easier to do PPC for yourself than it is to do that, you know, gray hat or black hat SEO to send people to that page. Because you can't, and then with that, you can't write an article and point people to a product page. It doesn't coincide right. So in terms of like a guest post and push them into a product page, a guest post works great when you can push them back to other content on your site, respectively. Not to say always, but you know, this is a whole side note to everything. You know, for our business, we write guest posts and we point people back to our homepage, and that works. So, you know, that's kind of everything in a nutshell as I know as it comes to SEO and PPC together, though. Hope that you got some value out of this content. I have a ton of other PPC money-making strategy content on this channel. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check some of those other videos out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog where we have step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that are guaranteed to work for our clients. If you like to see information laid out like that, I have it there. And if you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who asks me a question about this stuff within a day or two. But you know, anyway, I hope you enjoy, like I said, and if you have any questions, let me know.